Hey guys, as I promised after publishing part 1, today I'm bringing you part 2 of detailed leaked review of the season finale. Keep it in mind that those leaks are from the same source as were the leaks for the previous episodes that turned out to be quite accurate, so again, if you don't want anything spoiled, it's time for you to close this video. Anyways, part 1, or should I say half of the 5th episode, ended in King's Landing with Cersei promising to Daenerys, Jon and the other lords that she will send her troops north to support the living side. Winterfell is next, starting off with Sansa Littlefinger. Baelish says to her that Arya is dangerous, saying that she had some evil plan which is why she came back. Littlefinger is still trying to get in Sansa's head as he has been trying this whole season. He wants to tear the Stark sisters apart, he's basically creating a chaos to achieve his own goals. Littlefinger also says to Sansa that Arya will use the letter against her somehow. Dragonstone is next. Daenerys and Jon with the rest of their team have already arrived at Dragonstone after they attended a huge meeting in King's Landing. They are in the chamber of the Painted Table where they are organizing in the defense of the North. Theon and Jon speak about the Starks and the Greyjoys as well as about how it used to be when they were growing up together. Jon asks if he will come with them to the North, on which Theon replies with, "No, I must rescue Yara first." Jon says that he should do that and wishes him luck. Upon finding out from Euron that Yara is still alive, and upon Euron challenging him during a huge meeting at Dragon Pit to come and get his sister, Theon now tries to rally the remaining Ironborn left in Dragonstone so he could at least try to save Yara. This is when the fight between the leader of those remaining Ironborn and Theon takes place. Theon seems to be losing, which is when he realizes that if he loses, that man will stay leader of those Ironborn and therefore his chance of saving Yara is lost. After being mocked and pretty much beaten up, Theon gets back into the fight and beats that Ironborn leader, which results with Theon forming a rescue party and heading out to save Yara. Back to Winterfell, Sansa gathers all the lords from the north and from the Vale. Sansa then calls on Arya to come forward. Arya starts to worry that this is her last day alive, something like Sansa did in the 6th episode when Arya confronted her. Sansa then says it's time to judge the great treacheries and betrayals that have been done to the North, and we will judge the person responsible for them, looking straight at Arya. Sansa says, "You need to tell me how many times you have betrayed the North," still looking straight at Arya. Arya is shocked and cannot believe her sister is saying this to her. Sansa says it again, "You need to tell me how many times you have betrayed the North, Lord Baelish." At this moment, Sansa starts to name all his treacheries and betrayals over her family, as well as over the ruling house of the Vale. Sansa then pulls out Valyrian's steel dagger and asks him if he recognizes it. Littlefinger says it belonged to Tyrion, just as he said to her mother back in the 1st season, but Sansa knows it was his this whole time. Next to Sansa is Bran, who is the one that has told her all these things. Bran then says, "You once told my father I told you not to trust me." While Littlefinger is shocked, Sansa also tells all the lords present how he sold her to the Boltons. Baelish realizes he's pretty much done but still tries to get his way out by telling them lies and even asking for help from Jon Royce, the lord who not only was a good friend with Ned Stark, but also the lord who has questioned Littlefinger's intentions the whole time. Littlefinger is desperately trying to convince other lords in his innocence, and at this point it looks pretty much pathetic. This is the moment in which this leaked script page is taking place. Sansa says, "When you brought me to Winterfell, you told me there is no justice in the world, not unless we make it." Littlefinger looks at Arya Stark, a petite executioner with an elaborate dagger made of Valyrian steel and with dragonbone hilt that Bran handed over to Arya after Littlefinger gave it to him. At the end, Sansa tells to Littlefinger, "Thank you for all your lessons, Lord Baelish," continuing and most likely saying, "I will never forget them." Littlefinger tries to talk with the Lady of Winterfell, he says, Sansa, but doesn't even have a chance to lie or manipulate as Arya swipes the dagger across his throat. Littlefinger starts to choke in his own blood and falls to the ground holding his throat and dies. It says, everyone in the Great Hall watch him die and no one moves a muscle to help him, which is not surprising at all. Arya Stark will kill Peter Baelish with a dagger that Littlefinger held to Ned Stark's throat while betraying him, while this dagger also partly caused the War of the Five Kings as well as the destruction of House Stark. A bit later, the Stark sisters will have quite an emotional conversation, which is when the script page will take place. Basically, Arya says to Sansa that she's never going to be as good as she is in the matter of ruling, and also admits that she never could have survived what Sansa survived. Sansa, on the other hand, says to Arya that she is the strongest person she knows. They're stated the storm has passed. Sansa and Arya look out across the snowy landscape. Arya looks up at her big sister. Arya asks her sister, "Are you alright?" Sansa nods and replies, "It's just strange. In his own horrible way, I think he loved me." She's clearly talking about Littlefinger and his creepy love towards her. Arya says, "You did the right thing." Sansa replies, "You did it." Then Arya says, "I'm just," you pass the sentence, "You're the Lady of Winterfell." Sansa glances at Arya and asks her something, on which Arya replies with, "Nope, and I'm never going to be good as you, probably ruler or lady. So I had to be something else. I never could have survived what you survived." Sansa replies, "You would have. You're the strongest person I know." Arya looks at her big sister again. Back to King's Landing, we have Jaime and Cersei having an argument. Basically, Cersei promised to Daenerys and Jon that she will send troops north to support the living side, and now she's revealing to Jaime that she lied. Cersei reveals that she does not intend to help against the army of the dead, and also reveals her true intentions. She tells Jaime that she wants the Night King to kill the northern armies and their allies, and also says that she had obtained an agreement with Euron. While he pretended to be a coward who is heading back to Pike, he actually went with his Iron Fleet to Essos to hire and bring the Golden Company to Westeros on her behalf. Upon hearing out Cersei's true intentions, Jaime will finally figure out who his sister and lover truly is, which will result with Jaime finally leaving Cersei. We see Jaime leaving King's Landing and is on his way north. He stops to fix his golden hand and looks back to the Red Keep, which is when the first snowflakes begin to fall on the capital. There's also a leaked script page of this scene. There's written that Jaime rides north. Looking behind him, he's no longer in the Lannister uniform. He's no longer commanding nor representing his house. Jaime is dressed like a sellsword. Stopping his horse, he pulls on a black glow specially designed for his golden hand. He notices a single snowflake landing. It continues, he glances back at something and at the high towers of the Red Keep. Either looking or going forward, never looking back again, a lone horseman going north on the King's Road. Then we are going back to Winterfell, and those scenes will most likely be the best scenes of the entire season. Bran is visited by Sam and Bran recognizes him. Bran then asks what he is doing there, and Sam tells him he needs to see Jon Snow. Bran says he also needs to tell him a lot, which is when Sam asks Bran what he needs to tell Jon. Bran replies with, "Jon is not Ned's bastard, but Lyanna's and Rhaegar's son born in Dorne, and his name is not Jon Snow but Jon Sand." In case you don't know, every child born out of wedlock uses special surnames that are dependent on region a child was born in. Surname Sand that marks them as a bastard is used in Dorne where Jon was born, and therefore Bran says that Jon's surname is not Snow but rather Sand. Anyways, Sam tells Bran that Jon is not the Sand Eater, revealing that he has seen it in record that Rhaegar had his marriage with Aelia annulled, and at some point of time Rhaegar married Lyanna, meaning that Jon is a Targaryen. Sam then tells Bran that if he can see into the future and past, then he should go see for himself. This is a moment we all have been waiting for a long time. We are finally going to see Rhaegar Targaryen. Bran goes into the past and sees the wedding between Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark in a forest. While this flashback is happening, the scene switching back and forth between Rhaegar with Lyanna and Jon with Dany on the boat. As the romantic scene between Rhaegar and Lyanna takes place, we see Jon and Dany's romantic scene as well. Jon and Dany enter a cabin together in which they begin to take each other's clothes off. As the intimate relationship between Jon and Daenerys intensifies, we see the scene in which Lyanna is in the Tower of Joy. Lyanna says to her brother Ned that the baby's name is Aegon Targaryen. Bran then says that Aegon Targaryen, aka Jon Snow, is the legitimate heir to the Iron Throne. After he has been mentioned in 10 episodes so far, we finally see Rhaegar in a flashback. To be honest, it's not surprising but rather quite expected. Throughout this season, we've seen a couple of scenes that either foreshadow this flashback, such as Gilly discovering it in the first place.
What does annulment mean?
It's when a man sets aside his lawful wife.
Maynard says here that he issued an annulment for Prince Rhaegar and remarried him to someone else at the same time in a secret ceremony in Dorne. Is that a common thing in the South?
These maesters.
And on the other hand, we've also seen a few scenes that clearly showed how Jon is similar to his real father, such as this one.
He enjoys talking.
We all enjoy what we're good at.
I don't.
Now let's compare this scene to a scene from the 4th episode of the 5th season.
He told me Rhaegar was good at killing people.
Rhaegar never liked killing.
This should be more than enough for all of us to assume that there will finally be an official confirmation that not only that Rhaegar is Jon's real father, but also that Jon was not born out of wedlock, and therefore he's not a bastard, but rather a Targaryen. Then we go to the Wall, or more accurately to Eastwatch, where Tormund and Beric are. We see the army of the dead with the blizzard following them, and they have almost reached the Wall. Tormund and Beric are shocked as they see this, when out of nowhere the Night King flies in on Viserion. The Night King attacks the Wall with Viserion, focusing on one particular part of it. Viserion starts melting it, and as this happens, the Wall starts to break apart in a V-shape. The gap in the Wall is wide enough for the army of the dead to go through. The season finale ends with the Night King flying through the Wall on Viserion. There you have it, guys. Detailed review for the final episode of the season that, beside most likely being accurate, also seems to be the best episode of the season and possibly best episode yet produced.